And at the end, we can all say what one is our favorite if it makes you feel better.
Sure.
Like,
we know the answer. We know the answer.
John is steadfast. He already told me what his thing was. He even texted me. He said, "I don't need your episode."
This is stupid. we just put up a picture of Randy Rhoads and say the end.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here with a man. In 3 months, he will be snowblind.
Your boy, Modd.
What's up, dog?
What's good, Jay?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
How you doing?
Good. What's it been?
Good.
A couple weeks again?
Been a couple weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
Last week we were off. Played that fun off at the runoff show. That
Okay.
was cool.
How was that? Yeah.
Oh, that was great. Went
Nice.
way too late, and I didn't get to see Lucius, so that kind of hurt my feelings
Yeah.
because I wanted to see them. But yeah, all the bands went over, but it was badass. It was hot as fuck though.
Ooh.
And we'll discuss that when we get a little more time, maybe another day. But love Garrett, Bronson Arm,
Yep.
Perry from Mouthful because
Yep.
he was part of it, and then Ben Boggs from
Drink Their Blood.
Drink Their Blood. They were
Sweet.
kind of all responsible for it. So hopefully they were trying to raise money to get an air conditioner in that place because it was so
Oh.
fucking hot. It's a garage, but it's a badass place. So
Nice.
we'll talk more about that. But today we welcome back a guy that's been on the show a couple times before, one of our favorite guest hosts, one of our, I think, first guest host.
Mm.
And on today's topic, we thought he would be perfect for it. And sometimes with a podcast, it's the best way just to have your friends over and hang out for a little bit. So welcome back, Jon
Thank you.
Rohn.
Thanks for having me. You guys have upgraded here. The table's longer.
Oh, then the last time
Yeah.
you were here? Yeah, we
Okay.
kind of...
So we
I
could
put
almost
the-
fit Slipknot in here.
Yeah. I put the longer table in here, and it's actually not a plastic table, but still, if you do this, you can still hear it every time. So,
Yeah.
But how are you doing, John?
Good, you?
Good, man.
Glad to
Yeah.
come back, man.
Yeah.
Always fun to come over and do this and still feel like I'm part of the scene, even though I'm super not social.
You're part of our
I appreciate it.
scene, buddy.
That's my
So-
that's my only concern. Then
When's
If
the
I-
last
if I
time? When's the last time we had you? What were we talking about then? Guitarists or?
don't remember.
Yeah, that was we all picked like our top 5
I think
extreme
so.
metal guitar
Yeah.
players.
I think that's
Okay.
what it was.
And then we did the other episode you were on was the one that we had like 5 underrated bands we
Yeah.
picked each.
oh yeah,
So,
yep.
No,
And I was on that side of the table, so this is a cool.
Yeah, if you were on this side.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got another camera there, so I have a camera just on you.
Just
so.
the John. We're gonna send John just the John.
Just
Yeah,
the
just-
John.
how do I look?
I'm actually even gonna just send you just your audio too, so it'll just be
yeah.
like silent, and then you like saying something, and then
I hate my voice. I won't listen to it. I'll just assume it's great and move on.
just watch it on mute.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, cool, I did my job.
Like the least amount of activity John gets in.
Yeah.
Like, when he's not chopping wood and putting people's faces to the mat or lifting kettlebells.
Yeah.
This is John taking a fucking break.
Yeah.
A vacation.
Yeah.
Not even a break. This is a whole ass vacation.
This might be a whole day off for me.
You
I've
need-
been trying to be more active
Hey,
about taking one day off
dude,
a week. I didn't do that. For
those
a
are
long time.
important. If Nick's taught me anything, getting a little R&R is
Yeah.
important, man.
Yeah.
The muscles don't grow if you keep on
I
ripping
know.
them apart, dude.
I
So
know.
Yeah,
tell you
it's-
that right now.
Jay's one of like the most ambitious people I know. I'm almost the opposite, which is funny because we're like, like the same astrological sign. You'd think, both a couple of lazy Taurus bulls.
Sure.
Not Jay. JC's red all fucking day.
Yeah.
he's next task. He's fucking ready for whatever there is to be done. But this one thing I always told Jay is like, hey man, like I love your hustle. Take a day. Like
I know,
you
I know.
really,
Yeah.
you
I'm-
always like
I'm
just
trying to do it.
mentally and physically, like
Yeah.
take a day. Like I take about 5 days a week, so.
You're more efficient on the one.
I look at you guys and I'm like, they're sick. There's something wrong with it. Like up before the enemy, 4:30 shit. Like,
I do feel though, like just after that kind of one day though, sometimes just like yesterday was kind of a chill day. We did go for a 7-mile bike ride, but other than that, just like having that one day, the next day I'm ready to go. I'm recharged. I'm ready to take activity. So it is important, so. But this episode, so we're kind of, we're always going to be a little bit behind the clock. We're not up to date news but the whole, Ozzy thing happened. So of course the Metal Maniacs, we got to have some episodes about Ozzy. Originally this was going to be like Ozzy guitarist rank, but as I was just telling you guys and kind of realized at the last minute, I fell off that Ozzy Osmosis, right? That was
Sure.
kind of the last
Yeah.
time I was really into Ozzy, like had to grab the record. So after that, I thought Ozzy had 94 records with like all these different guitar players because I knew Zakk kind of wasn't playing with them. But then come to realize there is quite a few records after Osmosis, but it's kind of still mostly Zakk and then like a producer guy, and then Gus G was on one.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll scrap the whole rank thing, but we're just going to kind of talk about Ozzy's guitar players and the impact that they've had on just us music and everything in general. So
he had a covers record. I
Yeah.
don't remember what year it was, but he did like Rocky Mountain Way.
Yep.
There was like some cool old rock songs.
Yep. It was
that
like
he had.
60s.
Yeah, it was cool to
60s
hear.
music.
It sounded like Ozzy, but it was still pretty cool to hear him like, I don't know, I'm going to say not have to perform, but it was almost like it sounded like him having fun. And I don't know if he had a different guitarist on him, but I know he did something where he had a different guitarist come in for the lead on every
that
every
was
track. That was cool. I
That
don't
was
remember what it was
patient.
called, though.
That's patient number 9.
Okay.
He did that.
Sweet.
There was also on Ordinary Man. He did have a few, but patient number 9 in 2022. That was the one where he had Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Zakk Wylde,
That was
Tony
awesome.
Iommi. Yeah, so
that was really
that
cool.
record is actually phenomenal. But
Nice.
let's just start out the beginning, boys. And at the end, we can all say what one is our favorite if it makes you feel
Well,
better. Like
we know the answer. We know the answer.
John is steadfast. He already told me what his thing was. He even texted me. He said, "I don't need your episode. This is the
Stupid. we just put up a picture of Randy Rhoads and say the end. Right?
It's just like
Just runs for 90 minutes.
Yep.
Randy.
90 minutes after this first 7 minutes of us talking. Now it's just a picture of Randy. Just no music because we'll get flagged, but just a picture. So just starting at the beginning though. I mean, Black Sabbath, right? Tony Iommi. I think with Ozzy's shredders, getting into Randy Rhoads, Jake Lee, and all that, like almost Tony gets kind of pushed under the rug because when you're talking about like virtuoso guitar players, right? You're thinking of the shred-tastic stuff. Tony wasn't really the shred-tastic guy, but the dude could play, man. Like,
Still can.
I mean, for one, did he invent the genre?
He's credited,
right?
yeah, I mean, no, he's all mood,
Right.
all day.
So I mean,
Drop tuning.
there's doom type shit going on. It's dark. It's minor key. There's also some beautiful stuff throughout the Black Sabbath catalog. A lot of like guitar, like acoustic guitar and strumming and finger picking and stuff. Like some of those things that kind of get swept under the rug if you don't really dive into the Black Sabbath catalog. You kind of just know the hits. But there is some guitar playing going on. There's even one song, I can't remember the name of it. I swear to God, it's the first metalcore song on one of the Black Sabbath ones because he's like doing this like almost melodic type, bouncy type riff. And I'm like, okay, well, that's where metalcore came from because
It all stems back to him. It seems to me, in my brain anyway, it all goes back to Tony. There's even riffs where he's running Children of the Grave. Where he's running like triplets in that riff, but it's just not the speed that we grew up. It's not the Slayer triplet. It's a much slower tempo, but that's exactly what he's doing. It's that same like bouncy triplet over and over kind of riff. And those existed before, but not like that.
No,
not with high gain tuned to C sharp.
Yeah.
Thin string C sharp because his fingers were cut off.
Those,
like,
thimble things or whatever.
Yeah. So I think it was Rob Zombie gave Tony Iommi credit for every riff ever. He said everything's already been done. It's just a matter of how loud we redo it or how fast we redo it. But Tony Iommi and Black Sabbath started the whole thing. Maybe it was slowed down. Maybe there wasn't enough distortion, but it all goes back to Black Sabbath. So having Ozzy's voice on top of Tony's riffs, man, great start for metal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, Ozzy's had this thing too, and we'll get into this more, but Ozzy has this thing where it's like a lot of 5-minute songs. Black Sabbath songs are like long as fuck, like a lot of them are. I mean, not the little interludes and stuff, but I mean, 5 minutes, you go through the Ozzy catalog, 5 minute, 5 minute, 5 minute. He just loves them 5-minute songs. Yeah. So it's that all started back with Tony though. And then, I mean, how prolific though, just that's one thing that you got to give Tony credit for, because let's look at this Black Sabbath catalog here. So 1970 Black Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
And then, the song, you got NIB on there, which is a great badass song, right? And then 1970. And then also 1970, Paranoid. So War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Electric Funeral. What a fucking banger.
First 2 records.
Yeah.
That's what you come out
in
with.
the same year.
Right.
And then 1971 is Master of Reality. So a year later, we're banging out Sweet Leaf, Children of the Grave, Into the Void.
Right.
And that's a pretty good record too, Master of Reality. Volume 4, 1972.
One after the other.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize they were that close together.
Yeah.
Never really thought about it.
This is what blew my mind when I was looking into this. And so Volume 4 is pretty good. This is the one that has the it's Cornucopia is the song that I was thinking of earlier. But Snowblind, that's a banger. Not as many on Volume 4, not as many hits though.
Sure.
Okay?
Right.
And then Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, 1973. So 1 year later,
Yeah.
another
We got,
album.
5 records now?
Yeah.
In 3 years?
Yeah. So another album, and that's Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
And that's back in an era where you had to not fuck up in the studio.
Yeah.
You'd go in and you had to actually, not that you don't actually have to play it now, but
No, you don't have to.
yeah, but you really had to fucking play it back then. And then how many times are you, is for the musicians out there, how you're checking your tuning
Oh, yeah.
constantly,
Yeah.
nonstop. And he's using those thin strings
Yeah.
and low tunings, which is not good for staying in tune.
Right.
No, and
Right.
I will say that there is some things you can hear on the Black Sabbath records where you're just like,
I almost like
Where
it
is
being
that?
there though.
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
gives it that energy to it that
absolutely.
a lot of records nowadays.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of records now they are overly produced.
Oh yeah.
The skill is there. I'm not knocking the skill or
Right.
even mentioning a band. It doesn't matter because it's good music.
Yeah.
But there's times where I'm like, that is so mechanical. There's like
Yeah.
no soul in that at all.
The sterility of
That's a good word.
modern metal has been addressed. I mean, we just had a group of kids on here, Decedent. They had the right idea about metal and certain genres of metal where they're a deathcore band, borderline death metal. They're right in there. But they get it. They're like, we don't need none of that extra over the top production.
Sure.
It's 3-4 instruments, bass, drums, vocals, guitar, and they just let it fly raw. Like maybe to a click track, sure,
Yeah.
but like other than that, they don't need all that pristine production on the distortion. And I got to give it to them. Like they understand the assignment very well. Some bands need that, and I don't think Black Sabbath was really that band. I mean, if you clean it up too much, it takes away too much of the feeling of
Yeah.
it. So I like that raw old school production where you can almost hear like the needle on the vinyl.
Yeah.
It feels like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even when you're rolling a tape.
And then you can hear like one thing about Ozzy and Black Sabbath is dynamics. I talk about it a lot on the show, but there is a lot of dynamics involved in even the Black Sabbath music. But when they start really jumping into it, you almost hear the mic bleed of the drums and the other instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it starts to get a little chaotic, but
Yeah.
but you just kind of like that because it brings you back to 1973 because that's what 1973 sounds like.
Right.
And
Right?
imagine how innovative that sounded then.
Oh yeah.
That had to have been such a mind fuck for
Yeah.
people to go, what the hell are we, like that opening riff to Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
To go,
Yeah.
what is that?
Yeah. Because we're coming right out of the generation of like, what?
Hippie shit.
Yeah.
The 60s, the love child shit. and
The
all
love
that.
generation. Yeah. So coming out of that into some real heavy, dark, doomy stuff, I'm sure it blew a lot of minds.
But I mean, Tony, badass guitar player. I mean, he still plays great today. I mean, seeing him do the Black Sabbath
Back to the
shows,
beginning
back to
show,
the
yeah.
beginning, and then all the reunions or whatever. The dude, great guitar player. But I mean, you can't deny that Tony was the guy, right? I mean, we're here to talk about kind of Ozzy shredders, but this guy is the reason why all this happened. You can hear a lot in this Black Sabbath where it carried over into the solo Ozzy career, even though it was different, but there's a lot of similarities here. And obviously, Black Sabbath went on. They went on with Ronnie James Dio, kicked Ozzy out of the band because he was a fucking wild man and doing all this crazy shit, not showing up to practice, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Then they got Dio in the band. And then I believe, like, Dio left the band. I know we're talking about guitar players, but just real quick history on this. Dio left the band because Ozzy was going to headline over Black Sabbath at a show or
that what it
something. So
was?
Dio got pissed and left.
I didn't know that's what it was. I guess I
something
maybe
like
have heard that, but
yeah,
I didn't.
something like that. So,
That's so funny.
but yeah, that's amazing. That's some rock star shit right there. But
And nowadays, if we could some way somehow have them in a room, they'd probably hug and go, "Man,
Oh,
that was really
yeah.
stupid."
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just a testament to being young and egotistical and dumb.
And on top of the world too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You think you're the man? Oh, you think you're the man? No,
Yeah.
I'm the man. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
yeah.
And they were young, right?
Yeah.
So
it's almost impossible to talk about Ozzy without talking about Black Sabbath or Tony Iommi. One thing that I wanted to address on the show today, knowing that Tony's name is going to come up, is, and knowing the subject matter, we're going to talk about Ozzy guitarists today. Just wanted to kind of like put it out there that this is the one that is not Ozzy's guitarist. Okay,
sure.
So Tony's is not only is Tony his own man, nobody owns Tony, but more the case, and I was really going to make this point if it had to come up. Ozzy is Tony's singer.
right.
That's
Sure.
the way. That's the way I look at it.
No, you're right.
And I say that because, Ozzy wasn't so awesome then at the time that he decided, I'm going to go out solo. I'm bigger than Black Sabbath. They couldn't find Ozzy. Like, where is he? He's not showing up for rehearsals.
He's under a table with a shotgun.
Yeah, he's in terrible shape with his behavior and addictions.
Yeah,
so
absolutely,
just everybody keep in mind, like they had to fire Ozzy from Black Sabbath for Ozzy to become what we know him as today, the icon, the godfather of metal. He had to hit rock bottom. He had to be kicked out of his band or fired from it, and then basically picked up off the floor and carried by his wife Sharon for years, for the whole time after he left Black Sabbath. But of all guitarists today, Tony, there's no real comparison because the other guys you go on after Black Sabbath, they're more shredders.
Yeah.
And Tony's kind of got his own style. He basically invented metal for what it's worth,
Right.
So I wanted to put that out there just in case there's any Black Sabbath diehards out there that are like, Tony's a god, and hey, I get you.
right.
Tony wasn't the shredder that we would later have working for Ozzy, but he's the one that put Ozzy out there basically. Yeah. So I just had to put that out there. No. Like, Tony's the man. All other guitarists aside, Tony started metal, and I just wanted to make sure that when we talk about Ozzy guitarists, Tony's not really Ozzy's guitarist. Yeah. Really Ozzy's Tony's singer.
But I will say this is, while all that is true, Ozzy wouldn't have become Ozzy Osbourne without going through all of that, right? I know you kind of said that in a roundabout way, but like if he wasn't around Tony and realized how bands work and worked his ass off and came out with all these hits and made all this, music, because like I said, there are so many similarities in Ozzy's music compared to Black Sabbath if you kind of go through the whole catalog, just with all the weird interludes and the ballads. Mm-hmm. There's ballads in Sabbath, right?
Yeah,
there's like slow stuff.
Never on the radio.
Trippy shit. Yeah. Not on the radio, but I mean, you could say changes probably.
Oh,
but,
sure.
Insane.
But there's all kinds of similarities where Ozzy's like, well, I loved what I did in that band. I'm just going to do it this way, right? So, we just kind of had to start there with a foundation, but let's just get into the end of the podcast right now. Randy Rhoads.
The end.
Well, and I'll let both of you guys speak on it before I say anything, but just real quick. So Ozzy gets fired.
Yep.
Right? It was like 79, something like that. So we're talking like 1980. So I just wanted to throw that out there. This is where we're at with that, 1980. Or 1979, late 79. So now we're getting into Ozzy's solo career and Randy Rhoads. So you want to speak first?
I think there's a lot of, I know Randy's like main thing is always the Ozzy stuff. And there's not a lot. I mean, a lot of people do know, but there's probably, I don't know, say fair weather, be respectful, a respectful way fan. They don't realize that Randy was a pretty known in the community before that. He played with Quiet Riot for a while, and like that may get like Quiet Riot, they're cheesy, but whatever the case, it doesn't matter. The guy was a well-known, very high-level, skilled guitarist, and you had Eddie Van Halen. Well, when did Van Halen come out? 78? Was it 77 or 8?
It was late 70s.
So you had shred happening, or what we interpret. You know what I mean? It was starting, but it didn't sound like Randy.
No,
and I'm very biased. To me, like as far as shredding lead guitar, I get it. Van Halen was there, but Randy made it perfect. You know what I mean? He brought in like the classical style, and like he's a genuinely classically trained guitarist who played metal. And I don't know if Randy would have stuck with Ozzy for another 10 years. I know he had spoken about how he just wanted to go study guitar. And I mean, when he died, he was what, 24 or 25 years old. And he did the 2 records with Ozzy, but
looks like he was 25.
25. Okay. And yeah, I just
25. Yep.
The impact to me that he had on those 2 records is, I think it's as impactful as Tony. Tony was the foundation, and then it was like, okay, what's next? And then I think that was Randy. Even though he wasn't like thrash metal, he wasn't James Hetfield. You know what I mean? It was like not quite as famous.
No, but it was a shot of adrenaline compared to what Tony was doing. It was a straight booster right to the arm, man.
So much faster. Now, I'm not saying better, but I think that you have like, if you had the pillars of metal guitar, and if you don't put Randy in there, then I don't think you have a real pillars of metal guitar.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I feel like we need more body of work from Randy to really look at that, but maybe I don't know enough Quiet Riot. And,
I'm just biased.
And we could say that there's enough there to make a case for Randy being like on the Mount Rushmore of guitarists. For me, I kind of look at Randy as just, and I like the way Sharon put it, Randy basically saved Ozzy.
Yeah.
Like Ozzy's, for all intents and purposes, he could have fallen off. That could have been the end. Like right there in 1980, like, oh yeah, Black Sabbath is cool. Then nothing from Ozzy ever, period. But too many people around Ozzy to support him, and they weren't really going to let that happen. But Randy, in Sharon's words, basically saved Ozzy. And I have to agree, coming out with Crazy Train and having a huge hit with Blizzard of Oz, the album Blizzard of Oz, immediately after being fired from your band, that's what a guy needs. Like he needs to bounce back off the ropes with like a number one or a hit or whatever. Yep. I mean, and Crazy Train, it slaps, man. It's a good one.
I mean, one of the most famous songs of all time.
Period.
Am I not?
Yeah. Like in general.
There's probably more people that know Crazy Train than they know Sweetly for Iron Man, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe not Iron Man, but real goddamn close. So that definitely helps. And that's kind of what I wanted to get into as well. One thing is, one of the points I wanted to speak upon, Ozzy's whole story is like a bunch of what ifs, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if he stayed with Black Sabbath? What would have happened? What if Randy didn't die in that crash?
Right.
Like, what would have happened, right? So there's a lot of, it's hard with this small body of work with Randy, but you could tell how great of a guitar player he was. But that aside, I want to touch on that point. We write Crazy Train. We write I Don't Know. We write Goodbye to Romance.
Right.
I mean, we're writing fucking bangers, dude.
Yeah.
These are hits.
Still to this day.
These are fucking hits, dude.
Yeah.
Mr. Crowley. These are fucking hits, dude.
Over the Mountain.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because, like, how similar do you think those songs are to like the Quiet Riot batch? Because I don't know a whole lot of Quiet Riot, but it does actually seem like, I could almost hear the guy from Quiet Riot maybe singing some of those Blizzard of Oz
Quiet
songs.
Riot, they had a little more of a party vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That like, what's that?
They're kind of hair metal-y.
LA strip hair metal kind of
glam
like,
rock.
Glam rock.
Where I think I mean, it's just me talking because I never know the guys, but it seemed like Ozzy brought out a darkness in writing in Randy. If you listen to his Quiet Riot stuff, it's not that dark.
Right.
Like he got with Ozzy and suddenly he's running like, for the more musicians out there, he's running like harmonic minor. He's playing in the darker modes. Even though Crazy Train is kind of a major key song.
Sure.
But like Diary of a Madman on the second record, like to me that's like the pinnacle of Randy Rhoads for me.
Nice.
And it was just much darker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't get like party vibes from listening to Ozzy's music. I mean, sure you can blare it and whatever, but
at a party,
yeah, sure. But I don't feel like it's, when I'm listening to it, I'm not feeling like it's party time.
Right.
I'm like, it's kind of like it's story time.
Yeah.
It's, it's like I'm listening, or, Ozzy just, especially as you get into the later years with the wisdom, the lyrics become more and more profound. Like, like back in the day, the early lyrics were somewhat fanciful. Like you got Bark at the Moon, whatever. And I'm sure it's like some sort of metaphor for whatever. I don't know. But but like the earlier stuff, it is a little bit more wild. And hey, look at me, I'm the wild Oz man,
I'm a crazy guy.
Yeah. And then you finally get to about 91. I think he starts to settle down. But we're getting ahead. But just as far as like the early stuff with Randy and comparing it to both Randy's previous band and Ozzy's previous band, pretty solid departure from both of those bands to come up with the Blizzard of Oz album.
But knowing Ozzy's temperament and the lore around Ozzy, and then all of the hits Black Sabbath, because some of the success of Black Sabbath was also shrouded in negativity as well because of the dark imagery, because of the crosses, because of the Black Sabbath, because everybody was religious at that time, and oh my God, it was one of those things. So some of the shock factor too. So if you're gonna get in a band with a guy that's already had this many hits and he's been kicked out of his band for being a fuck off, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what
you're
would have
going to
thought
approach
of at
that
the
way
time.
differently than fucking quiet rioting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
Quiet rioting.
rioting quietly.
Quietly rioting. Down with the man.
Shh. Fuck off. Yeah, but yeah. Also, the one thing about going into the shredding part, Randy classically trained.
Like true, like
Yeah, but
genuinely.
he had,
People
you
say
know,
that term, but he actually
Yeah.
was. His mom was a music teacher, and he grew up she owned a music school.
So
he was just inundated his entire life.
D,
Yeah.
right? The instrumental,
Mhm.
just showing off that guitar work. That's all the finger picking and classical guitar work. And then I don't know if he had, maybe Sato, was that another one that was kind of no, that was actual, but you could tell through his playing that there was a lot of, because he incorporated some of that clean tone, some of that big sound to a lot of the songs or whatever. I'm absolutely a huge fan of Randy. I mean, but it is one of those what ifs, right? Like,
Yeah, it was 2 records.
What happened?
Well, 2 with Ozzy,
you know?
anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely. I took a minute listening to Ozzy yesterday and to think about Randy and like, man, I wonder like how long Randy would have stayed around.
Yeah, I feel like I just feel this, the interviews I've read, because I've been a pretty big Randy guy since I started playing. I don't think he would have stayed. I think metal was probably quite boring for him.
Yeah, I mean,
when you think about these guys that are that technically advanced, I think they get like, yeah, it's cool, it pays, obviously, but I just think some guys are not. They're not pushed by that, and not to critique it. You know, like, was he happy or unhappy in the band? I don't know. I wasn't alive, but it just seemed like he was one of those really, really like he probably could have went back and taught classical music and been totally fine the rest of his life. He probably would have been fine.
I think with a lot of metal guitarists, musicians, a big part of us playing in this genre is always pushing that skill ceiling higher.
Yeah.
But as a regular person, not a metal musician, but just a regular musician, at some point you're more about the song, the melody, and the lasting impact of a song versus like, man, I smoked those sweeps on that guitar solo. You know what I mean? Like, at some point you kind of hit that ceiling and you're like, okay, I can get a little faster or whatever. I can get more technical if I want, but then you start to lose that the soul of it, starts to just kind of like ebb away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I agree. I think that at some point Randy would have said, "I'm faster than I've ever been. I want to do something different now.
Yeah.
I don't want to tour. Maybe I don't need Ozzy's eccentric lifestyle anymore." There's any number of what ifs that could have happened with Randy. I think that I agree with John. Like he already came from such an extensive musical background that metal was probably going to be a phase or a time. He might have loved metal than I know. I'd have to ask Sharon. How much did Randy love metal? Was he going to stay?
Yeah.
If he lived, would he have stayed? But I can imagine so many other genres coming out of the man. It would have been awesome. It would have been so interesting to just hear him work with other singers, him do something different with Ozzy. Thankfully, once Zakk enters the fold, we do get into some more diversity with the guitar playing. But
so, before you guys have got anything else to say about Randy, I just want to say a couple more things. Obviously, we talked about him coming from Quiet Riot. He was actually, it's been known that he was actually kind of reluctant to take the gig because the Slaughter bassist Dana Strum was like encouraging him to try to take the gig because they knew Ozzy was looking for a guitar player, and he eventually just agreed to go so the dude would stop calling him and bug him about going. So it was even being reluctant up front, right? Wow. I mean, this is obviously before we write Crazy Train together, so that's a little different motivation on the tail end of that, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
But so it says Rhoads arrived at the studio with only his Gibson Les Paul and a small little pig nose practice amp. And then apparently Ozzy was super fucked up in the control room and wasn't even part of the audition. And so the band or anything wasn't in there. So they just told Randy to warm up a little bit. And then as soon as he was warming up, Ozzy like came flying in there and was like, "You got the job."
Yeah.
And he was like,
he had an ear for a good guitarist, didn't he? Over the years,
yeah,
Ozzy did.
Like, yeah, I mean,
so. I know I had heard an interview with Ozzy one time, and he was talking about how he didn't know, he couldn't tell you A flat, E natural minor, and but he'd hum a melody, hum a riff, and Randy would just start in some version of Ozzy's words, where Randy would start jabbering off some musical jargon, and he could hear Ozzy hum and tell what scale he was humming in, and then he just could run it. And when you learn music like that, you can do that.
Yeah,
So I that's probably cool for someone like Ozzy who knows he's not like a genuine deep musician,
right?
But he has an ear for it, and he can be like, I don't know how to play it, but do this,
right?
And then the guy just pulls it off, and you're like, oh, you're in.
Yeah,
so I just real quick, he said that he just he quoted and said, I just turned up and did some riffs, and he said, you got the gig. I had the weirdest feeling because I thought you didn't even hear me yet.
That's funny.
And then it does say that like following the audition, Rhoads, Osbourne, and the bassist Rob Daisley actually became quick and close friends after that. So he was kind of bonded to those guys. Obviously, they had some great collaborations together. And a little side fact that I heard, too, is that the band itself wasn't going to be Ozzy Osbourne. It was actually going to be called the Blizzard of Oz.
Oh. I heard that, yeah. I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
Now that you say it,
so I don't know why they went with Ozzy, but maybe he already had the big personality behind him, and it just worked. He was going to be on the cover anyway because he's on all of his covers like a rap guy. So
he is, isn't he?
Yeah. He is. Every one of them.
Even if it's a cartoon of them, it is. Yeah.
Every one of them. I noticed that. I was like, man.
Yeah, I think if you're going to call your band Blizzard of Oz, you might as well just name it after yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you're putting your name
into
the title. Yeah. I think one guy that got away with it is the guy from Breaking Benjamin. Like, it's a pretty cool band name.
Yeah.
Like you got lucky. You're lucky your name was Ben.
Yeah.
You can't break a Nicholas. It's not as cool.
But yeah, so then obviously the collaboration ended in March 1982 when Randy Rhoads died in a plane crash while on tour with Ozzy. He was 25 years old. So moving away from Randy, unfortunately, in a bad way, they did get Bernie Torme. He was a 1982 brief fill-in. Nothing really happened. Then Brad Gillis came in. He was also just a touring guy only.
Did a live album with him, I believe.
Did he? Yep.
I'm looking for the same list that I had the other day. But
he played on the live album Speak of the Devil 1982, which consisted of Sabbath covers. And he was from the band Night Ranger. Right Nanger, I almost called him. Cool band name, Right Nanger. Then we go into Jakey Lee in 1983. So he goes through 1987. So it said that Jakey Lee, after dismissing Brad Gillis that we just talked about, Dana Strum, the same guy, was also friends with Jakey Lee, and he recommended him for the job. So it says that Lee was a serious contender alongside Dawkins George Lynch. Lynch was initially chosen by Ozzy, but was fired 3 days later when Ozzy changed his mind and went with Lee. In a notoriously awkward turn of events, Lee was hired and then had to watch Ozzy deliver the news to Lynch.
Jesus.
Well, he went on to play in Dawkins. So.
Yeah, and we know how good Lynch is too. I mean,
oh yeah.
I guess Sharon Osbourne kind of had something to do with that. She wanted Lee's look over Lynch's because of not just musical ability, but like it was more of a stage presence thing because like Sharon was trying to put the look together, you know. So they thought that Jakey would be the better of the two. He did make a lasting impression with his appearance and demeanor, but that Bob Daisley, the bass player, was still in the band, which I do want to say, we're talking about guitar players today, though, but if you listen to some of this Ozzy shit and some of these badass bass lines that are going on, this bass playing is phenomenal.
He always had a legit band.
Dude,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
like,
always.
I know they're all players, right? And you're playing with Ozzy. Also, big proponent of the backing tracks. Lots of backing tracks going on these CDs and like through the PA, because I remember seeing the No More Tears when I seen them live and all that stuff was there, all them whale sounds and fucking violins
church
and all
bells.
that shit. Yeah, all that shit's there. So however they did it, I don't know, but like that was a big thing in Ozzy's sound, was have to more things. But getting back to Jakey Lee, he was on let's see, where's my list at? Oh, sorry. So he came in after.
He's on Bark at the Moon.
Yeah, he's on Bark at the Moon, which is a complete dog shit album. Sorry, I just had to say that. I don't know. I fucking love Ozzy, and I love a lot of the songs, but God, Bark at the Moon's such a shitter, man.
I'm gonna have to give it another go because I love that song.
It's a great song, but all the other songs I'm just listening to
it,
and I'm just like, man, this album is not good at all.
You weren't there. You don't know.
I don't know.
Your hair was never that big.
I just got to say something so you crucify me in the comments. But it is kind of a dog shit album.
I think it's hilarious that you would use the term dog shit album for Bark at the Moon. Like it wasn't lost on me. It was like, because I can now I see the wolf howling at the moon, but now there's a turd coming out of its ass when I think of it. It's just hunched up turd. God. Look, I don't know about the rest of the album, but if we're talking about Jake Ely, I just want to say I feel like the man single-handedly out-shredded everyone in the 80s with that song alone. Like, I was listening to it the other day, and I was like, there's a lot of right-hand rhythm going on in this song. Not to mention those solos. Those solos they're like right there on like the iconic, memorable scale. Like, you can...
Yeah, they are.
You can I'm like hearing it in my head right now. So like a lot of times I can't necessarily recall a guitar solo if he's just shredding.
Right.
But this guy had a great way of like just the phrasing, the melody of it. But yeah, I just thought, man, for all the work that Randy did to save Ozzy's career and put hits out there with the first two albums, Jake E. Lee came in and kind of helped shoulder some load after, oh my God, we just lost Randy. Like, this is devastating, you know? And yeah, like he had a couple of guitarists previous to Jake E. Lee, but Jake laying down the tracks for the albums kept Ozzy's train, his crazy train rolling. He's
like, I don't want to say criminally underrated, but I feel like when you make like a list of badass guitar players, and I'm probably guilty of this, people forget about Jake.
Yeah,
like, man, he was so.
It's probably for this dog shit.
Yeah,
just kidding, dude.
Jay knows not what he says.
No, he's a great guitar player, dude. I just think it's funny because, like, think about Bark at the Moon. What songs do you know off Bark at the Moon besides Bark at the Moon?
I'd have to pull up the
Well,
track
so
list.
You're No Different. Now You See It. Now You Don't. Rock and Roll Rebel. Maybe Center of Eternity. So Tired, Slow Down, and Waiting for Darkness. And then, like, on the European edition, there's a song called Spiders and Center of
I don't know any
Forever.
of the songs.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, none of these songs were really that memorable.
It's
That's
really
all
that-
Ozzy was kind of trying to say compared to like Ozzy's other catalog. There's hits on everything, multiple hits on a lot of albums, and just this album, you have Bark at the Moon, badass song. I love that song.
Yeah.
But just the rest of the album goes downhill for me personally. There is more synth and more stuff infused in this album as well. More elements starting to get a little more like
sign
away
of the
from
times.
a
Sure.
little I mean, we're what's this, 1983?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where synth and shit's coming in, right? I mean, it's, you know, heavy on the fucking electronics, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Oh yeah.
and I don't mean to, if this is your favorite album, please enjoy it without me in the back of your head telling you it's dog shit. I just had to say that because I was just like listening to all the albums and I was just like, of all the albums, this was one that just to me was not good. Like,
Right.
I just didn't like it. And I think I'm going to say this. I think it's because it's put up against probably one of my favorite Ozzy albums, Ultimate Sin.
Mhm.
Because
I love that one too.
fucking Ultimate Sin rules, dude.
Yeah,
like
it
almost
does.
all the songs on it
Yes.
fucking rock.
Yep.
Ultimate Sin, badass song, probably one of Ozzy's heaviest songs. There's even almost some double bass in it. I don't know if you heard it.
There is.
There's this part where he's like, digga, 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 and then he like goes into this toms, and it's like the only glimpse of double bass you get. But the Ultimate Sin is a fucking heavy song by Ozzy, one of the heaviest.
Nice.
And then Thank God for the Bomb, great song, dude. Killer of Giants,
Yep.
fucking banger. Shot in the Dark.
Love
Come
it.
on, dude.
Great
And that's
song.
all I'm saying is like this album bangs.
Yeah.
Bark at the Moon, maybe we were trying to get our footing behind it. I just
Sure.
couldn't take anything out of it. So
No, that's fair. Definitely a notable guitarist, and again, I'm glad we're not comparing them and having to
there's
rank
no,
them. Like,
yeah.
but I do want to bring back the point. Like now, like we are very far removed from Black Sabbath sound. Just a mere 3.5, 4 years later, with Bark at the Moon. Like that, nothing about Bark at the Moon reminds me of Tony's playing.
Nothing.
It's just
No.
the only thing that ties
no.
it together at all is Ozzy's voice over the top of it. But
Mhm.
Tony was never that style of guitarist. He was more just whatever he felt. But yeah, and a mere 3 years later. And what was Black Sabbath doing at this time though? I mean,
they had
they had Ronnie James Dio.
yeah, he
maybe.
came in on Heaven and Hell. I think that was 1980, and then they put out like Mob Rules in 81 or 2. So they were still cranking shit out, but I just don't think anybody cared anymore, honestly.
Yeah,
mean,
I think most of the fans kind of went with Ozzy, perhaps, but which is weird because Ronnie James Dio is no slouch. But I guess if you're an Ozzy fan, that's a pretty unique voice. Like even if you can like both, but you can't necessarily substitute one for the other.
I don't think so.
But I also believe that we're in the day 80s, right? We're in the day where the record and the song sells. So if Black Sabbath isn't writing anything that's worthy of the radio, because even with Ozzy, you go into like volume 4 of Black Sabbath, 1972.
Sure.
Yeah, Changes was on there and Snowblind, but like that's a whole album of like not one radio hit. So they were starting to get to the point where there was another album too, Technical Ecstasy. Not one song on that was on the radio or whatever. So I just don't think Sabbath is writing stuff that was imperative enough to be forefront and be popular. Like you have the guys like us that still like the heavy shit, Sabbath, you know, and then you got guys that only like Dio. Right? They don't even fuck with Ozzy. They're like, I like the Dio era, but fuck those guys.
Heaven and Hell is really good. Heaven and Hell is really good.
But I just think it's like, okay, Ozzy, we're writing bangers. Like, this shit's on the label. This shit's on the radio. You know, The Ultimate Sin, like I said, all these songs coming off there that were on the radio. So
that song,
I think that's just kind of the difference is, you know, I mean, a lot of it was probably push from the labels at that time because Ozzy's getting the push. Maybe Black Sabbath just wasn't resonating like Ozzy songs were. You know?
I always wished Ultimate Sin had gotten more like radio play because that's one of my favorite Ozzy songs, I can't hear in it what in that song prevented it from being on the radio. It's compared to Bark at the Moon or whatever else, but I get Bark at the Moon and Shot in the Dark. They're like ultra melodic, which I guess when was Ozzy not really melodic?
Yeah,
but Ultimate Sin just has this really unique. I don't know, has a unique thing about it that I always. It was a standout song for me, always.
Yeah, probably one of my faves. But, so that's kind of the Jakey Lee era. You know, then he gets fired, right?
What was he fired for? Any reason at all? Or
Ozzy wanted a guy with bell bottoms.
I know.
The times were changing.
It was professional and personal issues, they say.
Okay.
Basically, there was like, after Bark at the Moon, Lee and Bob Daisley were allegedly pressured into signing away their publishing rights for it. And then when Lee demanded proper credit for The Ultimate Sin, it created resentment with Sharon Osbourne.
Right.
So it was basically a firing because it was all about money at the end of the day. Right. So that's kind of why they kicked him. And then it also said Phil Sowason. How do you say his name? Sowason? Phil Sowason?
Yeah, I actually don't know.
Oh, so he's the bassist for Ozzy. Like, he was a big part of Ozzy's career, too, as a bass player. The Lee claimed that Sowason and drummer Randy Castillo wanted to take over songwriting and work to convince Ozzy that Lee was no longer needed. So it seemed like there was just sometimes shit just stops working, and who knows how volatile Ozzy still is and was at this time.
Right.
Also, you're dealing with Sharon now too, and we all fucking know things you've heard about her. I'm sure she's a great person, but sometimes when you're trying to run a business too, you got to be kind of fucking cutthroat too.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of do what's best for the.
And it's her husband.
Yeah,
she's going to be extra cutthroat, and I've heard that too. And I've always kind of been like, I don't know, like that's most really super successful people are like that. I don't care what they just are.
Yeah.
They're way more ruthless than you'd realize until you're with them and you're like, oh, fuck, this is a different thing.
They have a bit of that, what'd you call that? I wouldn't say narcissist, but what would you call that? That's like a narcissist, like a personality type. I don't know why I can't think of it. But anyway, you got to be kind of like, you don't have a lot of empathy sometimes when you're talking about your business, right?
Yeah.
You know, so you kind of take the people equation out of it. But it did say Lee and Ozzy did not speak for nearly 40 years.
Yeah.
And Lee performed with Ozzy again at his farewell show in July 2025, allowing the two to reconcile in person just weeks before Ozzy's death.
Did you guys watch that show?
Some of it.
Only bits and pieces.
The day after, they had the actual streaming footage up on YouTube, and then it got taken down. And Jake didn't actually play with him. He played part of the super group thing. He was there, but he was actually invited.
Yep.
Right.
And he sounds great as always. And I mean, that was last month.
Yeah, it's actually honestly kind of surprising that he was a participant because I don't think he and Sharon have gotten along since the fallout 40 years ago.
Yeah, I had heard all that too. So it was cool to see him at least.
And I think there's money at stake still all these years later. So there's a lot of debate on that topic, which I don't know enough about. I'm not going to speak to it, but I'm happy that he was there.
Yeah, me too. It was cool to see him. And they played The Ultimate Sin.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, that made me even happier. Yeah. So.
And it's good that he's still out there shredding. I mean, it's been a long time.
He's still awesome.
Nice.
Still sounds great.
All right, so then we bring in the kid. 1987, just 20 years old, Zakk Wylde landed the gig with Ozzy Osbourne.
Crazy.
His audition process was less formal than a typical interview. Sent him in a homemade demo, a photo, and a ham sandwich. So Zakk Wylde's girlfriend, actually on the Howard Stern show, heard that Ozzy was looking for a guitar player. And Wylde was playing in a club in New Jersey, and a photographer named Dave Feld offered to pass a demo tape to Ozzy's wife and manager, Sharon Osbourne. So Wylde recorded a demo tape and sent it in with some Polaroid photos taken on his parents' porch. Ozzy later admitted that he almost dismissed the tape based on the photo alone, thinking Wylde was just another Randy Rhoads clone due to his teased-up hair.
Yep. Oh, God.
Said, however, the picture ended up on the kitchen counter, and Wylde's demo tape is one of the few that Sharon passed to Ozzy. So impressed by the tape, Sharon called Wylde in England and flew him to Los Angeles for an in-person audition. Wylde later found out he was competing against established guitarists like Chris Impellitteri.
Yep,
for the position. And then, so it said the first round, Wylde first played with the Ozzy's band, drummer Randy Castillo and Phil Sowison. Before Ozzy was president, they played classic songs like Suicide Solution, Crazy Train, and Bark at the Moon. And then when Wylde returned the next day to meet Ozzy, he was understandably nervous. Wylde had recalled that Ozzy noticed him crapping my pants before delivering some memorable and somewhat bizarre instructions. And then Ozzy told Wylde, just play with your heart and change your pants because something really stinks. And it says, to cap off the unusual audition, Ozzy asked Wylde to make him a ham sandwich, adding, go light on the Coleman's mustard. Don't let it overpower the taste of the sandwich. Wylde took the joke in stride and often references making sandwiches for Ozzy over the decades working together. So, 20 years old, man, you're playing with fucking Ozzy.
You see a lot of that these days, and it must have been especially wild then.
Wild.
Oh.
Hey now.
No pun intended. Good catch.
Yeah, Wild with a D.
Like these days, for example, you get a band like Megadeth.
Oh, yeah.
Constant rotating lineup, right?
Yeah.
So, Dave's like 60, but he can go and hire a 20-year-old guitarist now if he wants. He can get the cream of the crop. He's risen to the top.
Yeah.
So back then, I feel like it's more common now because you got the internet.
Yeah.
You can just pull talent from anywhere.
Totally different thing.
Back in the day, I feel like maybe a little bit more rare to find a 20-year-old who was up to the task of not only performing these songs, but like touring with Ozzy. I think you had to be a younger man to keep up with Ozzy back then. I could imagine being Ozzy's age and being his peer back then and just looking over at him going, you got to slow down. I can't keep up. So I think that was a good move on his part, too, to get a younger guy that could maybe help shoulder the load and keep up with Ozzy's antics. To me, just while we're on the subject of Zakk, though, I got to say, end of day, Zakk is Ozzy's champion. Like, he's the guy. He's the sword, the shield. He's right out front protecting Ozzy. And this is why I'm glad we didn't have to rank these guitarists, because how do you put a guy like Zakk over Randy? First of all, we don't have enough body of work from Randy.
That's that question mark there.
And then also, like, I don't really want to compare these guys for their skill set when really I just want to look at like how much they did for Ozzy to propel his legacy and his career. And I think when you finally get to Zakk, not only do you get the talent that you needed, but you get finally like the right person for the job. He was meant for this. And now we can look back all these years later and say, well, yeah, he's been with them for damn near 35, 40 years himself. So I just like, he's my favorite Ozzy guitarist. Like I get where you're coming from and where it all began, and it took me a long time to get there because I wasn't sure who was on all the whatever. I knew Randy, and then I knew Randy passed away and you had some other guitarists. I didn't even know Jake E. Lee until a couple of years ago. Like I wasn't familiar with the name. I had to learn these things as I went, but over time, just looking back at it, the way that relationship unfolded and how beautiful their friendship became, I just have to sit here and say, like, Zakk is the man in Ozzy's guitarist catalog for me. I mean, whoever else came in, I know there's a list of about a dozen that helped between albums, and there's so many that were on record, but to me, end of the day, I just think Zakk's the man for the way that he helped Ozzy in his entire career. I love it.
I mean, you could arguably say that Zakk also was part of writing some of Ozzy's biggest hits ever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
Oh,
No
for
More
sure.
Tears,
Yeah.
that just record in general. Even though the thing about No More Tears is Lenny actually helped Ozzy write about half of those lyrics.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Lemmy's
Yeah.
got some writing credits.
For me, Zakk's the man. But I'm a little bit biased too because I understand that Zakk took over for Dimebag and he does that pretty goddamn well. Like you can't fill Dimebag's shoes; that you just them are too big. They're they're fucking huge. No one's filling Dimebag's shoes.
Right.
There's
But-
one
but
guy
Zakk-
that could have done that. And that's it.
But Zakk filled Dimebag's shoes, Randy Rhoads' shoes, Jakey Lee's shoes. It's just kind of like this guy's the fucking shit. But
Somebody
Zakk,
exceeded Randy. I mean,
Zakk
I'm
is-
biased. I love Randy, but
Yeah.
Zakk, like Nick said, he's the guy.
yeah,
He's the guy. If you could take Randy or Ozzy's band into forever, Zack's the guitarist forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
Period.
for
It's-
sure.
That's his band.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough second guitar over the body of work that you could bring a second Ozzy guitarist, and that would be wild. Like, you know, like the Back to the Beginning thing, you got 20 guitarists on
Oh,
stage
yeah,
jamming
yeah,
your songs.
yeah.
But if Ozzy went out on the road with actually like two guitarists, like wielding solos back and forth, like how insane would that be?
Yeah.
If you could get Zakk out there on the tour with Joe Holmes also.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yep.
God, that would be wild. I
Yeah.
mean, so Ozzy's been blessed with great guitarists forever. But yeah, I agree, John. I think that if you look down and you make a one lineup for Ozzy Osbourne, I do think you take Zakk Wylde, despite having some of the greatest guitarists, you know, of the 80s and 90s in his catalog. I still think you go with Zakk Wylde.
I'm pretty partial to Zakk too because my favorite Ozzy record actually is No Rest for the Wicked.
Mhm.
I love
Okay.
every song on this record. Miracle Man, Devil's Daughter, Crazy Babies, Breaking All the Rules, Bloodbath in Paradise, Fire in the Sky, Tattoo Dancer, Demon, Alcohol, and Hero, all stuck in my head no matter what. Fucking, I could pull up the chorus at any time. I don't know, just because I jam this one a lot. I just really love No Rest for the Wicked. But going on, you do know that No More Tears, like I just said, is probably one of his Ozzy's crowning achievements of all. I mean, production wise too. I mean,
Oh,
just,
yeah,
this
it's
album was
perfect.
everything,
Yeah.
dude. Like this album was peak Ozzy Osbourne. This was like 1991.
91,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. So just think about all the hits that came off of that. Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Title track,
Yep.
Mr. Tinker Train.
Yep.
What else was there? I thought there was, looking at the album, we got Mama, No More Tears, Time After Time.
Yep.
And we had Time After Time. I Don't Want to Change.
Don't Want to Change the World.
Got Road to Nowhere.
Oh, what a badass song.
Great song. I was listening to that just yesterday, and I was wondering, like, is it a metal song or is it kind of like a ballad, The Road to Nowhere? Because
It's kind of in between.
it is, but it's like a metal ballad where
Yeah.
it's got just enough teeth where you can lump that in with metal. There's obviously too many ballads where you would never say that. You wouldn't say
Sure.
November Rain is a metal song,
Right.
even if it has a great rock guitarist and
Yeah.
Slash. Like
Yeah.
in all 8 minutes of it, nothing ever says to me, "Ooh, that's metal."
No.
You know, but I can listen to Road to Nowhere and it feels a little heavier, so it does get a little attachment to the metal there.
I think there's a cool in my guitarist brain too. When I listen, there's like that gap between Tony and Zakk. You had these more like classical shred-tastic type guitarists,
Mhm.
and not that Zakk can't shred. He can shred with anybody, but he brought in a Les Paul with a Marshall, and it almost felt more straight. There was less like glitter.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It was more raw meat and potatoes. Like this dude just fucking rips.
Yeah.
Just straight up, just hammers it. Pentatonic stuff.
I was going to say the same thing. I think some of that is because of the blues laden
Yeah.
southern pentatonic
Yep.
feel that he brought to it
Mhm.
outside of like these harmonic minor scales that
Yeah, yeah.
Randy's using and shit, like these really specific scales
Mhm.
that, his style is his own style. Like, can he play the other guy's shit? Yeah.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
he finger pick? Can he chicken pick and
Yeah.
all that? Yeah, he's a badass. But like, he has his own flair. Like you're
There's
saying.
like a level of like raunchiness to his playing that the other guys were. It's like Randy and Jake were flawless.
Mm.
They never like missed a bend. Where Zakk would bend so far that he had to bend further
yeah.
to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just there was something.
Push it another half step.
Yeah, there was something like more edgy about Zakk
Yep.
that I always appreciated.
I love Zakk style. I love a good blues guitarist because blues, it gets looked down on for whatever reason, I think, because it's all that everybody, blues box scale.
Well, it's
or,
blues standard. It's
But
the basic
it's
thing.
what
that
all metal's
everybody
based
knows.
on,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Everything, rock and metal.
I mean, and then you can move into jazz, and that's where you start to get closer to Randy with the neoclassical stuff. But I love it when you're just like, no, I'm a blues player and I'm a blues rock player. And I love when I can hear those scales in a guitar solo. Those are the best solos. I'm
All of
sorry,
them.
like
They are.
like because when you get to shredding, like just top to bottom, sweet picking and just tremolo picking, you lose me a little bit sometimes because it just sounds like all this just speeding around, and I'm not really hearing the solo. I'm not really hearing the melody. And sure, Randy and Jake could get away with doing that and having the melody. Like they had enough skill to do that, enough ear for music. But when you get to Zakk, it's like, I can do that, but I really just kind of want to do this box scale and hit this bend a whole and a half step, and it's just so simple, but I love it. And he's capable of so much more. Like you said, Phil and Dime, all these guys.
Yep.
But like there was definitely like a style shift where somebody, maybe Sharon and the company, sat down with Ozzy and said, we don't want another shredder like we've had in the past. We're kind of entering an era even now because we're leaving the 80s and we're leaving all that glam and that glitz and, the coke and booze lifestyle. We're putting that aside. Now we're strolling into the 90s with a joint and a six-pack, and we're like, we got to slow down. Like, we got to take it easy.
That was 87? No Rest for the Wicked, you said?
88.
88. Well, that was around, I mean, generally, Guns N' Roses had come out in 87, and that was, that was a hair, but it was really bluesy.
Yeah, it was also
comparatively to Cinderella. I mean, which was bluesy too, but you know what I mean? There was like a level of raunchiness and that was coming out that was definitely more accepted.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they could kind of see around the bend where they were like, okay, this hair metal thing's kind of in its death throes, and so you're 88, you're turning into 91 where you go into Mama, I'm Coming, or No More Tears, I should say.
Tears, yeah.
Like they made a real perfect pivot with the grunge movement to kind of get away from some of that shredding of the 80s and fall in with a more, I don't know, maybe mainstream rock radio formula.
Yeah.
But it was moving away from like the Motley Crue or the Quiet Riot, if you will, and into the GNR territory or, whatever shift kind of happened there in the late 80s to get us into the rock of the 90s. And we had some really good stuff in the first half of the 90s, I'm telling you.
So we talk about Zakk Wylde, obviously No Rest for the Wicked, played on No More Tears, obviously, and then we go into Osmosis after that.
Another great album. That's another one of my favorites.
I like Osmosis a lot.
I do too. I love how powerful the production is on it. It sounds so good.
Yeah, so and this is 1995, right?
Yep.
Which is kind of weird. I thought that was a little bit later, but that does make sense because that's kind of basically the tour that I seen him on. Was the
96.
Osmosis tour,
Korn, Deftones.
Yeah, because the
Stadium.
2 times I've seen him were just in that area after Osmosis, before the Down to Earth record. But if you look at this Osmosis record, man, some bangers on this one too.
Yeah.
They have
Perry Mason to lead it off.
Perry Mason. I Just Want You's a good song. Yep. I Just Want You.
Yep. That
Thunder Underground, pretty damn heavy. See You on the Other Side.
Love that
ballad.
I love that song.
Yeah. That one always gets like like we just all did it. I noticed everybody goes,
yeah,
like a big eyebrow raise. Like, that song hits you hard.
I also like the track 2 on that. I Just Want You.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was one
I
that
just want you.
I had kind of forgotten about that one over the years, and then after he passed, they started digging up some of the,
lesser known.
Some of the deeper cuts. It was a single, it had a video, I'm sure. But it's like, some of the deeper cuts start coming out of the woodwork, and I'm like, I can remember this song. God, it's good.
Yeah, I love that record.
I love it too. It's, Osmosis and No More Tears, those side by side are like the crowning achievement, like the magnum opus of Ozzy's career, in my opinion. Just so many, and of course, I'm at the right age at this time. I'm like 14 to 15. These songs, 10, whatever. These songs are coming out like when I'm very impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I can hear all of these songs in my head all the time, anytime. I know them that well, but I just prefer that era over some of the older stuff because you got better quality production.
Yeah. Especially Osmosis. It sounds, it just hits hard. You
Yeah.
put it in, it's noticeable from the right away when that first riff kicks in a Perry Mason. You're like, there's a really high level of production. Was that Rob Trujillo's era yet?
Yeah.
Was he
right?
on that?
I believe he was. I think he goes back to even the last one.
Well, they have maybe live, but Geezer has writing credits on this album.
Osmosis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The difference, I mean, it's always a fair question too. Like, who's
Sure.
the songwriter and who's the live performer?
And,
right?
Yeah.
and that's always different with Ozzy.
Yeah.
So because Zakk Wylde now has a lot of writing credits on this, Lemmy has one on this as well. Steve Vai has one on this as well on this record. But this is where Zakk is now doing Black Label.
He's starting Black Label.
And this is where Joel Holmes comes in because when I seen him, I don't think I've ever seen Zakk. I think I've only seen Joe both times.
Yeah, I have to imagine it was Joe both times. I know it was for sure at Kalamazoo.
At the Corn one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was for
okay.
sure Joe
Yeah.
Holmes. I saw him at Valdu Lakes like
Is that this one? The poster we have down here?
several
With,
months later. Yeah,
Osmosis.
With filter and whatever.
Corrosion of Conformity.
Yeah, it was
That's what
like
that poster
something
is.
therapy was on the bill that night at Valdu, and I don't remember who else. I think I just arrived in time for Ozzy,
Oh, sure.
but I did see him 2 times there. I imagine it was also Joe Holmes that night too.
How I never got to see Ozzy. How he was good live when
Ozzy
you
was
guys saw him?
Fucking perfect.
Good?
Dude.
Ozzy's
Yeah.
so much fun. You know, he'd come out at some point with like a gigantic super soaker.
Or I seen the bucket of water and the super
Yeah,
soakers.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that when we saw
Yeah.
them. So he's out. He's spraying everybody
Yeah.
with the super soaker, and he's soaked. He
Yeah.
looks like an old man waddling or shuffling in his soaked pants. You know, like just
Well, just a little side note, and obviously with our other episode, some of the stuff's probably going to come back up again because of the other Ozzy episode, and we're filming that one after this one. But with that whole, Ozzy did no more tours after No More Tears. That was even before the Retirement Sucks in '96.
yeah.
So he did the No More Tours, and then there was a live album that they came out with, and it was like skyrocketed the charts. So then he decided to keep touring after that
Right.
because he was like, well, I guess I'm making money, right? So let's just keep going. So that was a big pivot in Ozzy's career too, because he was like, no more tours. This is after No More Tears, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's where Kiss got it from.
So,
27 farewell tours.
Yeah. So that's, I just wanted to bring that up too, because at that time when we seen him in '95, he was kind of an old man, but I mean, fuck, he just played, that was 30 years ago now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you think? Yeah, 30.
Yeah.
95.
So he really-
25. So that was 30 years ago.
So
we
he
seen
wasn't.
him,
He
and
wasn't that
just
old. He was
fucking
our age.
yeah.
Like. So pump the fucking brakes.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't. He wasn't fucking old at all.
Ozzy's first 40 years were different than.
I was going to say some of that is that early onset's Parkinson's. Some of that's that fucking snowing every night.
Yeah.
Fucking get my hands on whatever bottle of alcohol.
Yeah.
That gets you a 60-year-old, 40-year-old real
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
A 60-year-old, 40-year-old real fast with that.
Look,
so.
you want to look like you skipped the good-looking years of your life? Go right to smoking and drinking.
Yeah,
You'll-
yeah.
You'll you'll bypass the beauty of skin in your
Yeah.
20s.
Yep.
You'll go right to the 50s and 60s
Yep.
if you want.
That's funny too, because I'm, a guy who's never drank or smoked, and I fantasize sometimes like, man, I wish I could go to the 80s and just get fucking destroyed. I want to go hang out with all the guys and just fucking get blown up and
That's
drink and get
incredible.
hammered. But I'm like, no, I got to get to bed by 8.
See,
Yeah.
I'm glad I was the age I was in the 80s because I wouldn't have made it out if I was 5 to 10 years older. I would have
Sure.
probably just
It's
stayed in the
yeah.
80s. But because I'm not cut from that cloth, boy. I don't have a limit. I don't have a cutoff point. I just keep going right over the edge. The edge is gone. It's like a cartoon.
sure.
They go running off the cliff. And they're still in the air.
keep
That's
on
Mod.
fighting.
I'm like, hey, we party. And I look down. I'm like, oh, shit.
Well, and you guys, I mean, you're a few years older than me, so you probably remember No More Tears. Do you remember?
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I was
When
like,
I was a kid, I remember
Yeah,
coming
you remember
on
being
the
a thing.
TV.
And
yeah.
I was born at the end of 87.
Okay.
So for me, my first current memory of Ozzy was Osmosis. I remember my brother having the Ozman Cometh CD that had the golden cross and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, Randy Rhoads was like this ancient relic that I only heard about. Jake Lee was this guy I saw on this VHS tape one time.
right.
But my first memory of anything Ozzy was Zakk Wylde.
Nice.
So even though I'm like a Randy kind of disciple, Zakk, like I said, Zakk he is the number one thought I have when I think of Ozzy. And but that Osmosis record gets a lot of people give it a lot of shit. And I don't. It's
weird.
I hear the term I didn't get into that new Ozzy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe you were of an age where that was new and it just
Yeah.
it wasn't the 80s fun vibe anymore.
Yeah.
It was a little different.
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing with Slayer. I have friends that are a little older. They're like, I didn't get into new Slayer, and they're talking about God Hates Us All, and I'm like, that's 2001.
I was gonna say that's like half.
That's 24 years ago, dude. So I was like,
it's halfway there.
when it came out, obviously it was the new Slayer, and it still remains the new Slayer for a lot of people because that's where they stopped.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't know anything after that.
Yeah, it was a big jump in sound, and it's just so different.
Well, I literally said that at the beginning of the show because Osmosis was new, and then I left Ozzy alone after that. So that was like new Ozzy, basically.
Yeah, and I was like, that was current. I mean, that came out in 95.
Yep.
Osmosis.
Yep.
So I was 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, just starting to get those memories. I think 7 is about the age where they start to stick.
And if you see one of those videos at that time or something, it's like things
burns
very mysterious. You
Yeah.
know, I remember seeing like the Metallica Enter Sandman video, like, what the fuck is this? Like, I didn't even know what Metallica was.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I was scared of the prayer part. That's how much of a pussy I
Dude,
was when they were praying on the radio. I was like, oh, this is the devil's work.
I remember.
I gotta leave this alone.
I think the first music video I can recall seeing was the Bone Thugs Crossroads video. That was the first, for some reason, that always comes to my head.
We got a way different Jon Rohn out of that one.
The Mariah Carey on that jet ski, because it was just popular.
Yeah.
But I remember my first Metallica video was Until It Sleeps.
Oh,
I
damn.
specifically remember asking him, because my brother is 6 years older, and he got me into metal.
Yeah. Right.
And I remember being like, because I had heard Injustice for All. I'd heard Master of Puppets, but I didn't really see Metallica. I didn't have the internet back then. I didn't, and then there's these guys like in short hair, and they're like fighting some weird ghost dragon blood thing, whatever's going on in that video. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I was confused. I remember being like, that doesn't look like how I envision.
Well, we were all shocked.
Yeah.
For
different reasons.
And now I go back and I'm one of them guys that's like, Load's actually pretty good.
Load is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. But that's new Metallica.
Yeah.
29 years ago.
Yeah.
That's new Metallica.
That's where I leave it too.
Yeah.
Leave it in park and walk away. I get out in 1991.
Just leave it in park, leave Load cranked, and get the fuck out of there.
Well, look,
I
was listening to some of the newer Ozzy stuff just to kind of see, hey, similar. I kind of fall off after Osmosis a little. I know the radio singles, but I was listening to some of them, and I'm like, they're actually not bad. You just have to kind of take it for what it is, and like when you look back, and you're like, you can kind of separate Ozzy's work from like pop culture or whatever. You just kind of take it as Ozzy, but then you get older, and you're following him in real time. You're up to date on everything. You're waiting on the new Ozzy one when it comes out. It actually sounds like a product of the times.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that's kind of magical about Ozzy is like he was able to get out of, like Black Sabbath and that sound. And then he did like the shred-tastic 80s. And then he did like the epic rock 90s. And then he kind of stayed progressing with whatever the sound of the days were. So you get into like almost a bit of a new rock, new metal-ish, like all my life I've been searching for. So it's got like some of the newer stuff. It sounds like new radio rock music with the tuning and the production and everything. So some of those newer songs, maybe when they came out, I thought, well, it's a little bit corny. And what are they doing? Why are they trotting Ozzy out like this and putting out these pop songs? I listened to a handful of them the other day, and I'm like, actually not bad. I just kind of think I wanted Mama, I'm Coming Home Part 2 or
some of that
No More Tears.
Some of that just all goes down to the mystique of it too, right? Because of the music that's coming out at the time or whatever, it affects you in a certain way. But we get so desensitized about stuff because now all of a sudden we're listening to fucking satanic black metal. You think some crazy guy barking at the moon is going to be something that we're like enthralled by. Like, no, we're beyond that. So now when Ozzy comes out and says, "I'm a crazy man," we're like, dude, you bit that head off the bat like 45 years ago, dude. Like, it's good. We get it, dude. Like, so that's the beauty about Ozzy, though. He's kind of always kept that, like, the Prince of Darkness aesthetic up. So, like, a normal Joe, a Mormon, or whatever you want to call it, would be like, that's the devil, Right. But for us, you're like, this is just some old guy now. You know what I mean? So you kind of fall into that era. But I do agree also with the shifting of the times, because there was one of the albums I listened to, because I listened to every single one of them front to back. And one of them, like, when I got done, I was like, okay, we must have did that tour with Marilyn Manson around this time because that sounded like a Marilyn Manson record almost, but with Ozzy singing and doing Ozzy's things. But I also think that's the beauty about Ozzy is that like kind of weird corniness that we would say, like I'm the crazy, like trying to say stuff that's borderline offensive but still good for radio. For us, we're beyond that because we're in the satanic death metal and
we're very sophisticated.
I'm just saying, like we've seen all that. We're like so far beyond that. But like for normal people, but it also keeps it in the spotlight. It keeps it on the radio. It's just dark enough or just enough to have that little like. You know, that little weirdness about it where normal people would still be like, oh, this is heavy metal, you know? So I think that's our problem is the new Ozzy. Like, we started getting into all kinds of other shit. We're so far into death metal and all this crazy shit by then that another Ozzy rock song didn't do much for us just because we didn't really seek that out either, you know?
Right, yeah. Like, we enjoyed Ozzy when the time was right, when we were 15-year-old kids and what have you, but then you get into, 10 years later and you're like, well, I've heard all the Ozzy I ever need to hear. I need that new death. I need something heavier than Ozzy.
Yep.
One of the things I wanted to say before I lose my train of thought here is that now it's gone. Fuck.
Oh.
I totally lost it. I had something to say about Ozzy's career.
Whatever.
Come back to it.
It was profound. Whatever
it was. It was like sitting there forever, and then I started talking, and I was like, it just left the building.
Yeah, it's fine. It happens all the time. But while you think about that, we'll just keep moving on. So Zakk Wylde eventually kind of scooted out of the band.
Ozzy started Sabbath reunion. I remember I had a Sabbath reunion in like '97. They did like a live show.
And Zakk was doing that?
No, it was Sabbath.
Oh, Sabbath.
Yeah,
okay.
It was Iomi.
Yeah, so Zakk was doing his own thing. He got Black Label Society, and he also does the thing now, or maybe it was at the time he does Zakk Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know if that's still the dudes in Black Label. I don't know if it's a completely different thing. I don't know. I don't know about that. Okay. But then we do bring in Joe Holmes. We've mentioned his name a few times on this show. Yeah. For me, I was telling John, like, before you got here, I was telling him, like, in my mind, Joe Holmes is just that skinny dude that shreds on the stage. So when I Googled what happened to Joe Holmes, and here comes some pictures of this old guy, and I was like, who the fuck is this? Like, I kind of forget we're getting old, you know? Yeah. So he's an old guy. We're old guys now, you know, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. But so what happened with Joe Holmes, he did play live. He has a few writing credits. Yep. He was phenomenal when we seen him. He was he did study under Randy Rhoads, and he later played with David Lee Roth, actually. So you know how damn good he was. But in 2001, he decided to leave the band after 6 years of touring. During the writing and recording of Down to Earth album, in a 2015 interview, Holmes stated that his focus was his focus shifted to family life. And they left on good terms.
That's good.
So that life just wasn't for him, basically. Right. He had 6 years of it. Yeah. And he just probably settled down, probably got some girl pregnant, was like, yeah, I'm doing this thing now.
Well, I love Joe Holmes for his solo on Perry Mason. Now, he's not on the record, but when he pulls it off live on the Ozfest VHS, like the very first Ozfest, like he owns that solo, like as if he wrote it. Like, so I love that memory. Like I can always go to that Perry Mason video, pull it up on YouTube and go down memory lane. And that teleports me back to Wing Stadium or Valdu Lakes when I saw Joe Holmes play it live back in the day. One of the things I was going to say about Ozzy is we were talking about his records sounding like a product of the times and maybe sounding a little bit like Marilyn Manson on a particular record. I think what I wanted to say about Ozzy is that he got all of that shock factor kind of out of his system some point along the way, so that by the time you get to the 90s, he can hand that off to somebody else who wants to now carry that torch. And I wanted to say that I'm glad that we didn't have to witness like an indignant Ozzy at the end of the rope, you know, where it got too corny, or we keep trotting him out to do Ozzy things like Ozzy dance, and it never really got to that. I think Sharon always did a good job of protecting him so he didn't have to do more than he could, especially in the end when you got the physical debilitations from the ATV or the four-wheeler accident. You know, those things started to debilitate over time. But I'm just glad that all the way down to the wire, down to the very end, sitting him down on the throne, back to the beginning, there's nothing corny about it.
No,
like he's old, and you can hear that in the vocal cords. Like, you know, he's obviously a very old man at this point. We know what we're watching the last show, but nothing about it ever along the way was ever like corny or indignant. I mean, look at the crazy guy. It's fun. And like you said, like most radio listeners who are non-musicians, they can take a little bit of that. You know, they can, it's kind of like watching a scary horror movie.
Yeah.
They like that shock factor. I'm just glad Ozzy didn't have to keep biting heads off of bats every decade and doing something stupid to stay relevant. Like
I think I was talking to my girlfriend about this, and I was like, imagine if Ozzy were your grandpa, legitimately. And you watch that Back to the Beginning show, you would have probably cried.
Oh, yeah.
You would have been so fucking happy that your grandpa got to get back out there. Yeah, he's on his throne. We can't stand, but he went out there, played like 4 songs with Zakk, and then 4 Sabbath songs, I think, or maybe it was 5 and 4, but it was nothing more than 9 or 10 songs. Yeah. But the fact that he had all those ailments, all those issues, they got him out there. He was able to rehearse it, and I remember when I clicked it on, I was like, and then I heard him. I'm like, oh fuck, he sounds good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Zakk helped him a little bit on some of those vocals and stuff, but nonetheless, the point was like he did way better than I thought people were gonna. That they thought he was going to do.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was cool. I love that. Indignant's the right word. They didn't disgrace him. He wasn't a parody.
Yeah,
it wasn't like watching fucking, I don't know, just somebody trying so hard to be what they once were.
Yeah.
To jump off that though, when you listen to these later Ozzy albums, what I pulled away from it is Ozzy, end of day, is an artist, and he does the music because he loves doing the music.
Yeah.
Because there's some great songs on some of this later shit. Like the Scream album was fucking fantastic.
That was Gus, right?
Yeah.
Gus G.
So there's some good songs on there. And
New Ozzy?
New
Ozzy.
3 news on that.
07, 08,
like
9, 10,
I'm kind of talking more like 2022. I'm talking about this new shit. Like you can just tell he was an artist, man, because some of his lyrics and the way he reflects on things, like you had brought up earlier, Nick, like just like kind of the reflections of life and really being able to pull in the listener. That was one thing I really appreciated about him.
Yeah, I think he had so many life experiences and so many things kind of go wrong, or so many negative experiences, that he could actually sing about it in truth to the listeners.
Yeah.
I really love once you get to the 90s Ozzy lyrics, like
something changed.
They jump off the page.
Yeah.
Like they really are introspective and self-reflective.
The record, you tie a certain record to a time in your life, and you go back and you look and you're like, man, if that record came out today, I don't know if I'd even care. But for me, the Ozzy one, it was Down to Earth.
Yeah.
That was like 01, I believe.
Okay.
And Zakk was back. He made that. And that was a point in my life where I was young. I was switching schools and moving, and it was just this kind of tumultuous time. But I remember attaching to that record quite a bit. That was the first Ozzy record. I remember going, oh, there's the advertisement for the new Ozzy record, and I have to go buy it when it comes out.
Right.
Because before that was like 95. I was too young.
Yeah.
And then but that one, I think it's got a blue image of him on a cross.
Yep. Yeah, that's Down to Earth, right?
Yeah, it has a song Gets Me Through. Yep. Dreamer was on there. Yep. And it was cool. It was like down-tuned Zakk Wylde riffs. The first time we really heard, like, he was tuning pretty low at that point. I know Zakk Wylde was like tuning to like B and shit for the musicians out there and Black Label. But that record just had like a lower end thump to it. I think I heard that later too. Like when Gus was playing with him, there was a bit more punch.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Like I remember listening some of that in the car, and it was really just like slapping hard, like the drums and stuff. Which gives Ozzy's music gives a lot of room for that because there's not a lot of like double bass or shit going on.
It breathes,
muffling shit up. Everything breathes. But going back to Joe Holmes, he came through. Like I said, he left. He didn't have a whole lot of contribution except us being able to see him live and whatever. So apparently he's in another band with Trujillo.
Rob
Trujillo.
Yeah, Trujillo. So I guess they...
See Metallica?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See the new...
So it's called Farmicos. I don't know, but they formed that in 2012. And then, so he kind of left, and then you got Gus G. He was in the band from 2010 to 2017.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that power metal band Firewind,
which was cool to see. Like Firewind wasn't like super heavy, power metal heavy enough, but they kind of came from the underground. It was cool to see a guy that came from somewhat of the Metal Maniacs magazine era.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because everybody else was either from the 80s. It was just a different time. It was like this dude was kind of like inundated in the underground, and he was getting his shot. which I don't know. That was cool for me to see him get that gig, and he did really well. I thought he was. I mean, he is a great guitarist, but
so he appeared on Scream. He did some of that stuff. That was after the Down to Earth record.
Yep.
And Zakk, he parted ways with Zakk, so that's kind of because Zakk was on the Down to Earth, right?
Yep.
And then they got him. He did the Scream album, and then he did say then Zakk came back and was replaced by him because Ozzy wanted his classic sound back. So this is kind of where Zakk Wylde just comes in and out of the band a bunch, but end of day he did the majority of the stuff. So and that kind of ruined the whole episode idea of ranking guitar players because it just was a lot of Zakk. I didn't realize how much. I thought Zakk was just kind of done after Osmosis. Like I didn't even, honestly, I didn't know Zakk was on Osmosis. I thought Joe Holmes was the dude that wrote all that shit. And I didn't even know that until I was doing research for this. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't know that was Zakk on the record. So Zakk has a lot more to do with Ozzy's music than I thought. But
yeah, he had way more to do with it than I thought, and I knew he was around through the 90s, but I didn't know he went as far back as The Ultimate Sin, and I didn't know that they parted ways for a time there. That was interesting to me to find out too, but they both kind of all agreed, like, I think Sharon or somebody was quoted as saying, like the stuff Zakk was bringing to the table for Ozzy's stuff was starting to sound too much like Black Label Society, so we pretty much mutually agreed career-wise to kind of part ways and work with other people or do our own thing.
Absolutely.
And I think she's 100% right, too, because when you do listen to the later Ozzy stuff, you can put it on next to Black Label, and it sounds a lot alike.
Yeah, there's some blues-laden kind of fudgy riffs, but what's weird about those riffs, too, it's kind of strange to me because I'm listening to this, and I'm almost like, when you start doing that, like that type of like slower, doomier, bluesy and laden stuff, we're going back to Black Sabbath, baby. So it all comes from somewhere, and we know it comes from the BS, and I'm talking Black Sabbath. That's so yeah, some of those riffs in there, but I mean, and then you could talk about a few other guitar players. Vi was in there just that little bit. He had the writing song, but Vi I think was so eccentric. And he wanted to do some like let's noodle in 7/8 for fucking 12 minutes, and Ozzy's like, no, we need a 5-minute like song that's going on the radio. And Vi's like, no, what if I play this Phrygian dominant over this minor seventh with this quadruple fucking weird time switch? And Ozzy's probably like, nah, man, So he was in there, Gus G, and then so Andrew Watt.
Don't know.
You guys aware of him?
I'm not aware of him.
He's kind of the producer guitar player that was kind of helping Ozzy do a lot of the stuff on Patient Number 9.
Okay.
And what was Ozzy's last one here?
I know Alex Skolnick was in there too. He was a touring guitarist for a little
he did
bit.
like a one-off show, I think.
Was it a one-off? I thought it was like a short tour or something.
I'd have to see if it was more than one, but
he's just a testament. He's notable enough. We got to say Alex Skolnick. So.
But we talked about Scream, right, with Gus G. There was a 10-year lapse before Ozzy had another album out, and that was Ordinary Man, and this is where Andrew Watt comes in. He does some of this producing on that one in the Patient Number 9. This is where Ozzy's doing songs with Post Malone and shit. Yeah. Like, he's still staying relevant because he's the, I mean,
at that point,
I hope
he's
that
such
Eminem did a song with him too, or used the Changes chorus. I mean, that kept Ozzy right in the spotlight. And there was all that controversy around people that know who Post Malone was and was like, who's this Ozzy guy? And like blowing their fucking stack, like whatever.
Hey, it brought Ozzy out. Who cares?
But yeah, exactly. But as far as guitar players, that's the list. I mean,
you've got some session guitarists or like I'm looking at the wiki, and now here comes all the famous names of people who
Slash did something with him.
Saw Slash on the list.
Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Mike McCready.
It's because he had that one record where he had a different guitarist every song or whatever.
And then solo stuff. But as far as like actually playing with Ozzy, he kind of really only had the 4.
You got a Jerry Cantrell performed on the 2005 album Undercover. Even got Tony Iommi does make a one-off 2022 appearance as
it's a good song too,
as an Ozzy guitarist and not not the other way around.
It's a great song too.
Joined Ozzy for just a 2022 Commonwealth Games, so he must have performed live with them in 2022 as well.
I do want to say if new Ozzy is Osmosis to you like it was for me, Down to Earth was a great record. Black Rain was the one that I was talking about that kind of had the Marilyn Manson vibe. It was almost kind of more punk rock, a little more raw in your face. But I will say, like, Patient Number 9, Ordinary Man, and Scream are all fantastic albums. Always kept the guitar solos, always kept them guitar players front and center, always focused on great songwriting. So, end of day, fucking Ozzy's had great guitar players, man.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's Zakk.
Yeah.
Because there's just not enough. There's just too much what if with Randy, and that's the only reason why I just can't really go Randy. But Randy probably could have been the best guitar player in the history. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many what ifs, like how great he was.
I just always had. Like I said, I had Randy in that. Like he's like an untouchable. Maybe because he died.
The word.
It's like he was just like there's just this massive flash of incredible everything, and he's gone.
Yeah.
So maybe I hold him higher than I would have had he lived.
Yeah.
But at the end, I do agree though. Like I said, Ozzy is. I feel like that's Zakk's. Yeah. That's Zakk's rightful place.
Yeah.
You know, like all roads.
Back to Zakk.
Yeah, like
no pun intended.
Yeah, I was trying to quickly tie that in there, that thought, and I was like, "Fuck, I can't do it fast enough."
Roads don't lead to nowhere with Zakk. Is that what you're trying to say?
No more tours, but some more tours. There are some more tours.
A few more tours.
Yeah.
So, you know, Ozzy, who was quoted with saying that choosing the guitarist was the hardest part of his career. Quote, he says, "I need someone who doesn't just play guitar. I need someone who makes me feel like I can fly."
Huh.
Yeah. Well, and to that, if you get, for anyone listening or you guys too, go watch that back to the beginning, the Ozzy solos stuff set. Dude, it is heart-wrenching because Zakk actually walks over to him and plays leads in front of him.
Yeah.
And for a music, like, just no, you didn't know that was going to be, I mean, we knew it was his last show. We didn't know he was going to pass away so fast.
Right.
But just watching Zakk go over there and play the you know, was it Mama, I'm Coming Home solo, like in front. It was almost like the crowd wasn't there.
Yeah.
And he like turned the fretboard toward Ozzy and I was like, oh shit. Oh, damn
man
it.
Feelings. I don't know how to handle these man feelings.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I just started hitting push-ups.
Yeah,
fuck this.
You're like, man, that fucking, I wish I had some Claritin because my allergies are kicking today, boy.
Yeah. And that whole show was good. I know it's not specifically about his guitarist, but
I watched Slayer.
Yeah.
I watched Pantera.
Zakk had a hell of a day that day.
I can't remember what else, but I watched a few of them.
I watched
Lamb of God, I think.
It's totally unrelated to his guarist, but I watched Youngblood do Changes.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't really know who Youngblood was. I'd heard of him, and I knew who he was by sight, but I didn't know what he did.
He just started.
And I was like, oh, shit. I need to, like, whatever. Maybe if I don't dig his music, but his skill is, you should pay attention.
Yeah, I'd never heard of him before all of this. All of a sudden, then he starts showing up on my feed and shit all the time. I'm like, I don't know who this fucking bloke is.
He did that song. Dude.
He did it.
God damn,
he owned it. Man. I only became aware of this guy. He just started creeping into my algorithm out of the blue. Just one of those things. They're like, hey, you might need to know this. And I'm like, I'll listen to the guy. And I'm like, all right, who is it? And then I'm like, I'm fine with him because I mostly agree with the things that he's saying. And yeah, he dresses like I wouldn't. More power to him. Yeah, that's fine. Right. But I listened to the guy talk, and then I come to find out, like, oh, he's like the new Ozzy protege, and Ozzy's kind of like handing off the baton to this guy, huh? So I paid a little extra closer attention to him, and then I saw him do the Changes performance, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy's ready, set, made to be a star.
I just didn't know what kind of music his music is.
I don't know how to describe it.
I don't know.
Is it like
don't
rock?
know what it is either.
Sort of.
Yeah. I did see like he called a fan up on stage to play guitar.
Yeah, I know he's got a lot of fans.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how to. It's not punk. It's just got it's rock. I guess.
Just rock. It's just sometimes you find a guy who's into the dirty rock. Yeah. You don't need to go heavy.
Yeah.
He's all about that lifestyle, and I think Youngblood's kind of that cat where he's like he's just into dirty rock and roll and being himself.
I like him though. I mean, it's a little off subject. Who gives a shit? It's related to Ozzy, but I saw an interview with him, and he was talking about. He didn't mention what festival it was, but they wanted to pay him so much money to play the festival, and his question was, "How much are you charging?" And it was some just massive, and he was like, "There's no fucking way I'm doing that."
Right.
So he started his own festival,
nice.
Like this Blood Fest, I think it's called. It sounds like a death metal thing.
Love it.
But he said the tickets are limited at this price, and it was a substantially lower number. And he's like, I remember being that kid who, like, I couldn't afford to go to that shit.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, I don't care what kind of music he plays. The fact that he's doing that, because that's I remember being young and being like, man, how the fuck am I ever going to go to Ozfest?
Right.
I can't drive. I'm too young. I can't get the tickets. But whether they were expensive or not, in my brain they were expensive.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's a musician who doesn't have to do that, and he's willingly going, no, we're going to do this thing so more people can come.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I appreciate that about him, because it's probably pretty easy to fall into, oh, just here, we'll take care of the money. You'll get a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And he's
I just go
that.
do my job, get my check, and then go, not worried about the actual fans or the people that who are really want to come see you but can't afford it or whatever. So, yeah, that's cool. Well, with that being said, is there anything else you want to say about Ozzy guitar players today, fellas? I think that was pretty good. We covered a lot.
I think he's had some of the best.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all of the different eras of Ozzy guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Just gonna be missing Ozzy going forward, sadly. Man,
it
sucks. But I got a bunch of Ozzy in the ears yesterday in preparation of the show.
As I pulled into the driveway here, I had Crazy Babies jam, and I was like, nice. I forgot how much I love that fucking song.
Yeah, that like I said, that album's great. For me, as far as Ozzy and Ozzy's guitar players go, man, he's had some hell of guitar players, man. He's had a hell of career, and shredders or no shredders, writing the song at the end of the day is the most important thing. And how many hits has this dude had?
Right.
And a lot of it's because of those guitar players somehow figure. I know there's other guys in the room writing shit. A lot of it was the bass player, the Daisy guy to begin with too. So it's like, and the drum, like we're writing stuff together. It seems like there's writing credits for everybody. But end of day, putting your flair, putting that right solo that we all hum when we don't even, we can hum the no tears, no more tears solo, and don't even have to hear it. That's what a great melody and a great song is, right? So, I mean, it's more than just being able to fucking shred the sweet solo, right? Like we're talking about the whole thing.
Yeah, you know, I mean, songwriting was always paramount. You look through like Ozzy's career; it never felt like something else was taking a back seat, or it felt like the song was always in the front,
the driver.
And like. I like shredders, but I don't hum Yngwie Malmsteen solos.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You don't. No, you know, you remember the song, and but you remember the Mr. Crowley solo.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hum that thing from start to finish.
Yeah,
that's absolutely. Like that to me is like that's an actual composition and not just quite those skilled. Look how fast I can go.
Yeah,
fuck. Like you were saying, I'm a little older now, and I appreciate the simpler.
Yeah, and you got to have like a
shit.
You can be a shredder and write an amazing solo that grabs people, but too often I find that those shred solos don't do enough to really captivate your memory, your sense of memory or memorability. You know, like you want something that sticks, and a lot of times it's just that bendy. Yep. You got to hold that bendy, give it a little up and down on the bendy. Yeah, like it's really pretty simple. Like a lot of times the memorable solos, you know, like Comfortably Numb or something.
I was gonna say, like a Pink Floyd. That's all. It's just all about the bends and getting the bends perfect.
Just the right notes. A lot. And again, addition by subtraction or less is more. A lot of times with the guitar solo, you just got to hit a couple of the right notes and just dance around them a little bit. And then you can have yourself a really memorable, powerful solo. And they did that in spades throughout Ozzy's career. Plenty of guitar solos and memorability there all day long.
All right. Well, with that being said, John, thank you so much for coming over and fucking having this discussion. It was cool seeing you again and being able to chat with you.
Thanks for having me. I always like the invite and appreciate it. And
dude.
It's like I said, it's cool to still feel a part of the scene, even though I'm a fucking recluse in the woods.
Hey, that's okay. Nick and I like having you on for the conversation, and sometimes Nick and I always have a good dynamic when we do our solo episodes, but it's always fun to bring another person in just to
love it.
to open up the conversation. So thanks again, and with that being said, much love. Keep it metal. Peace. Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.